Today, I'm talking to Dave Scouler. Dave is the managing director of an organization called CultureRx. And at HCR, we've talked a lot about empowering your people to power your organization. And when I heard about Dave and his organization, the sense of empowerment really came to mind in what they do, because Dave and his company CultureRx talk about a results-only work environment, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Dave. It's great to be talking to you.
Pleasure to be here, Peter. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and I look forward to a lively conversation.
So thank you, Dave. So, I mean, this sounds like a bit of a what we call a no-brainer to me, right? Because surely all teams focus on results, right? But what's strange to me about what you call ROWE, results only work environment, that it's results only. So what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Peter. When you think about results only, it's really intended to provide essential clarity on the most important outcomes that organizations seek to achieve. Right? So the core principles of ROWE are autonomy and accountability. And so imagine if important results to be achieved are not clear to everyone, it would be impossible, or worse, unfair, to hold someone accountable, right? Think of it as a beacon, right? The results only is the focus and attention on a beacon, or perhaps another way to explain it is think of it as true north on the organization's compass that guides the teams forward while allowing some innovation and creativity on the pathway to the results.
Does it really work, though? That's my question. Does it actually work in improving results and making people feel better about coming to work every day?
Yes, absolutely. And I say that with confidence because ROWE has been around and was introduced about 15 years ago. And it's been implemented in over 70 organizations. So that's hundreds of teams and thousands of employees. And it's worked across 10 or 15 industries, manufacturing, government, accounting, legal, financial, advertising agencies, healthcare, nonprofits. I mean, the whole spectrum, because it's really about, how do folks think about what they're going to do when they come to work, right? And so the idea of creating that environment. Really, it's the landscape, it's the field, it's the playing field that's being created that allows these results. And the results that are reported to us from these various clients and companies and organizations is that they measure this stuff. So it's not just a guess. The things like and there's a good before and after. I mean, you think about reduced voluntary attrition. Okay, well, that's important to most organizations. Talent leaving, on their own, not being asked to leave, that's a big issue, and it's a barrier to achieving success or sustained success, at least. So that's one. Everybody likes to think and measure that. And also, so to keep the people that you want to keep, that's why it's voluntary attrition that we're watching. Also on the recruiting side, attracting new and appropriate talent for the work that needs to be done is also empowered. Many organizations in their careers section on their website, when they're looking to grow the team, they will make a big statement about the workplace that they've created. And some even call it, we have a couple of Canadian companies that call it, it's our talent magnet. Well, it's just so intriguing and attractive that once you sort of dive into it, you say, wow, that's how it really should have been all along. What's wrong? Yeah. What's wrong?
Yeah.
So this talent mag, the other, productivity goes way up generally. And that's an easy one to think about, because if you sat down with someone or a team, you said, well, how many meetings do you have in a week? Right. And do you really get a lot out of all of them? Well, no. Well, okay, let's take the envelope, turn it over, let's do some math. How many hours do you spend in meetings that are really not very productive, or worse, annoying? And then, okay, so there's the arithmetic. Maybe it's 5 hours a week, maybe it's 10, who knows? But it's kind of easy for individuals to identify that.
Yeah.
And that becomes the calculus for the productivity increase. The other thing that's important, I think, to pull out in terms of does it really work is, absenteeism goes way down, because, when you've got an environment where, it's a good, you got good stress, you got good tension versus, oh my gosh, I don't know, I'm just upside down here. And that kind of mental health, really, there's a lot of mental health issues that are surfacing around the stress of the workplace today. And to have an environment that embraces you and allows you to really be, bring all of your talent and your aspirations to the workplace is a place that has tension and challenge and stress, but it's good stuff. It's not the stuff that really makes you ill. Real estate costs generally go down in this environment. Wellness scores go up, and that's a sort of a subjective measure. Surveys that are done by these organizations watch that very carefully. That can trigger, into even reduced healthcare costs, really. So there's a lot of that. And then the one I like the most is the motivation and engagement scores really jump up. And so it's like, okay, you've got this team ready to go after whatever it is. And that's going to be dynamic. I mean, this is a dynamic time. And so when you ask, does it really work? Yes, it has worked for years, and it's working today because of, and especially today, because of all of the various factors that are barriers or threats to really, getting results.
Sounds like you've got a long history of proven results here. Can you give me some numbers in terms of productivity increases, engagement increases, some numbers? Because I know the leaders who will be watching this, they want to hear the facts, right?
We've got a model, and we watch this very carefully, and sort of the range of productivity is, in the 20, in some cases 25%, in that range, and that's a combination of these factors. People are engaged, they're doing more, they're not doing stuff that's not adding value. They're when they're there, they're fully there, and so 20%, maybe 30% in a good case is there, and that's a permanent lift. Yeah. So it's not just a one time. It just gets better and sharper and stronger as you eliminate waste and sort out, how, improve the clarity on, how you're working with your team. And one thing that we would also say is that, the idea of, stop managing people and start managing the work allows the focus to be on, well, how do we get that done, right? And so what we do is we say instead of the regular, management role, we switch that out completely, and we say, look, the person at the management level with a team that they're responsible for, in current environment, they switch over. We train them on this. We teach them and practice and coach them on this. Is they become what we call results coaches. So then they show up every day for their team to see what it is that they need that they don't have, or what's holding them back, or what issues are in play today, or what did you see that went really well today on the job and can replicate that. So this idea of the results coach coming is kind of a new role. It's a new way of thinking, and when you think differently, of course, you behave differently. And of course, when you behave differently, your results are different. So you know that more than probably anybody. So anyway,
I love this concept of the results coach. So it's not a manager who's controlling and trying to control the person. It's a
Right.
coach that is helping
Right.
to bring the best out of the individual. And
Right.
that sounds
Right.
great.
It really works well. And the other thing that is a sort of a companion of that is, as individuals are thinking about, well, here's what the team is doing, here's the issues we have within the team. The members of the team are very willing and eager to help other members of the team that might be struggling, right? So instead of the normal hierarchy, I'm doing my job, and my performance review is coming up, I got that nailed, and oh, too bad about my colleague here, he's struggling, but that's not my problem, right? It's absorbed as part of, this is what we need to do together, right? So this idea of results and that being a beacon or true north, everybody sort of gets less individual and more organized on what are we really trying to do for the customer, or in the case of the public service, the citizens, or community. What does that look like? And so, productivity is one easy measure. Space reduction is another easy measure for those that are looking at that. And then there's a number of factors that go into it. The model that we have would indicate that, and this is something that we would do with early conversations with any organization, just like you would, in terms of discovering, well, what is it that is really needed here, and let me first understand what it is, right? So when we get into that mode, we have this model, and we've run it a number of times, and the return on investment is really high. It's between, mostly falls in between 250 and 350% ROI. So it's probably the best or next best investment that you could make. The fun we have with it is we use this model to guide the conversation about, well, what's important? What do you want to measure? And what is it? What's your average salary cost? What's your space cost? What's your attrition rate? Let's get that down. What's that look like? And so, we're really focusing forward on what can we do together. And the model is really a tool that allows us to work on that together in sort of a companion mode, rather than a kind of a supplier client kind of mode.
I love this focus on teams that you're talking about, because one of the questions that I would have when I first hear about results only working environment is, does that mean you only care about the results, you don't care about the people? What would you say to that, Dave?
Oh yeah. Well, I would say no. We do care about people. In fact, it actually centered on people. So, and creating the working environment that honors and liberates their skills and talents. So it sounds like, look, it's just the bottom line, or it's just these tangible results, but that's not it. It's really about the people being allowed to and treated as if they can make a tremendous contribution. So we do all this so that the people can show up for work and chase after important results. So it's really about the people. We should have probably said the people only. But the idea that, look, that it's only relevant if we're really moving the organization forward on important goals, and that's usually growth and efficiency and acquisitions and all those sorts of things.
Totally.
So yeah, it's really about people. It does, and this is something I we've talked about, and I want to talk some more about eventually, is it requires a culture that is psychologically safe. And it's an environment that I would say needs an environment that reduces or eliminates fear. Because I think fear is the villain in this story. And so, how does that show up? And what do you do about it?
Now, we've talked about this before, Dave, and from the first time we talked, I could see a really strong connection with the psychological safety of the team, and it's really necessary. And I think what you do in your work with organizations is you're actually increasing the psychological safety of the team. You're enabling people to speak up, to bring their unique strengths to their role and find more meaning and purpose in the work that they do.
That's very well said, Peter. That's
Like,
very well said. And the one thing I would add to that I've heard is that, the team members really like that they feel trusted.
mhm,
And trust, of course, is the engine of autonomy.
yeah,
You got to have both.
yeah,
You have one to get the other, really. And if you don't, if there's not psychological safety in play, then there isn't really fully trust, working in the system,
yeah,
working in it for the system. And people know it.
yeah,
People can tell if, uh, how am I being treated? And in some cases celebrated, or, how am I growing?
mm,
And all this stuff. I mean, it requires the safety, psychological safety, to have those conversations,
yeah,
and not let a perception that there's things I can't say. That would be a career limiting move. But no, it just you're helping an organization to get to a place where those critical conversations are rich and frequent is really, really important in our view.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's talk about a specific issue that
Mhm.
a lot of leaders are grappling with at the moment, and that's hybrid work. So
Yes.
we had a
Yeah.
long time where people could work from home. They kind of had full control over where they did their work. And
Right.
now a lot of organizations are putting pressure on people to come back to the office. Now,
Right.
that is
Right.
not without a cost for these people, right? And
Yeah.
particularly in some of the areas I work in, you think of big cities in Asia,
Right.
Jakarta,
Yeah.
Manila, Kuala Lumpur.
Hmm.
Commute times are measured in hours. So people are
Hmm.
having to come back to the office. There's resistance. Leaders are trying to get them to come into the office.
Yeah.
What does results only work environment mean for hybrid work?
Well, hybrid work is, a lot of companies are putting that tag and communicating that they're implementing a hybrid model. And they think, in doing so, they think that they're solving this problem, right? Well, it comes up pretty short, because the policy based hybrid model, 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, whatever, or, what, these hours, or these range of hours, that's really still permission based. And so you're still, I like to say that, when they communicate in that way and they implement that, they're just slightly moving the walls on the current workplace box. And it actually, in fact, when you look at it, it increases complexity and stress, because now it's sort of like chaos. It's like, well, I can be home, but I can't really be home. So I can't really, or there's things that are my colleagues need, and they're not in the office, and we can't do this or that. So it really, it just takes the situation back, not forward. And it'll show up. Those folks that do the classic come back in the office, and some are even really bad around, or resign. I mean, those are brutal. That's a brutal deal. But I think what's happened, Peter, honestly, is the pandemic and COVID triggered an experience for companies and individuals that proved that, look, there's a radically different way. And once you've had an opportunity to experience doing your work, getting good, important stuff done, and being able to weld that in, splice that into the rest of your life, once you've experienced that, there's no going back. And that's why there's such massive resistance.
Mm,
And there, I think thinking about the office not as the place where work gets done, but thinking of it as a tool that in certain circumstances is perfect for what has to get done. Yeah.
Let's think of an example then.
Yeah.
What in a results-only work environment, what would be a valid reason for asking folks to come into the office?
There isn't one, because the individuals are making, mature, responsible decisions about when and where they need to be. So if I'm on a team and we need to do some form of intense, intimate brainstorming around something really complicated that requires some really, in-person kind of experience. We're going to build off each other. We're there together. We're sharing all sorts of stuff together. That would be perfect. But I don't want to be told that, okay, well, you're going to come in the office, and when you're in the office, you're going to do this. That's upside down. It's like, it's like treat me like an adult that's able to, responsible professional adult that's able to use the resources that are at my disposal, time, place, colleagues, external support and resources. Let me be the architect of how I get this work done. And don't give me the blueprint, because the blueprint's not going to fit tomorrow.
Yeah. So we talk.
Anyway,
we talk about
Sorry.
in our work in psychological safety, we talk about respect and accountability. And it seems like what we're doing here is respecting the individual and the team for them to make the decision as to how they fulfill the requirements of their job. And we're still holding them accountable for the results, but we respect them enough as grown-ups, as individuals, as intelligent people to make that decision for themselves without ordering them to arbitrarily come into the office on certain days. So, that sounds fantastic to me.
Well, I think it is. And I think that's the report we get from people. We've had individuals and organizations tried to be hired away with massive increases in salary, and they won't go. They'll turn up significant financial improvement to stay in an environment that is best for them, or they feel is best for them. So this idea of retention is really where a lot of this rests. And as you said, I mean, you described it beautifully. If you're in an environment where there is respect and some level of autonomy, and you're treated, as a talented professional that you are, and you all around you are teammates and results coaches that are trying to bring out the very best in you and knock down the obstacles that are in front of you so you can do that. And that feels so empowering and so liberating that anything else, like the normal hierarchy kind of conventional model, and even the hybrid models, fall way short. And so I think that's really the key, is that you experience something that deep inside, I'm doing my best work possible. I have no excuses. I have nobody else to blame. I've got all these resources, and I'm just gathering those and putting them together in such a way that I'm exceeding expectations consistently. And then the other thing that we're hearing a lot is, this gives us a real leg up for all of our diversity, inclusion, and all of the belonging. All of those jump up, because imagine you're getting access to talent that otherwise wasn't available. For example, if I'm someone who's really, really smart, but I'm disabled, I can't get to the office, right? And I can't apply for that job because the job is in Ottawa, right? So, but if I'm in an environment where, I'm embraced and I'm given the opportunity to bring the potential I can bring to the table and do it in such a way that is helping others and is fulfilling for me, okay, that's a lift that we didn't have before. And so there's a lot of interest and a lot of exploration that's based on answering the question, well, how does this impact one of our must-have goals that we're going after around belonging and inclusion and, equity and diversity and all of the things that are, this is, they could ask about results of where's the people. This is all about people.
Yeah.
Right. And including more people and stewarding them, shepherding them forward in a way that is really efficient and fulfilling and healthy.